Hello YouTubers. It's been quite some time since I actually posted any kind of video. Um, Several reasons for that. It's firstly the state of our flat or apartment, which is undergoing a bit of restoration at the moment, shall we say. Got a lot of my mum's old stuff in the flat, and it's in a fairly disorderly state. Also, I've had a bit of ill health in respect of type 2 diabetes. I've been somewhat under the weather, having injections and all sorts of things, and finding the cure is a little bit worse than the illness in many respects, though not ultimately, or it's not something you want. Anyway, I've been looking around at a number of other projects I've been doing for well, I've been collecting for some time the Italeri battle sets. Um, I've already showed the Foreign Legion fort with a set of Arab figures and a set of Foreign Legionnaires. There was also let me see, there was a Roman versus Celt with the backdrop of a Roman villa, which is one of the earlier sets, very nice, and a Rorke's Drift set with the Italeri Zulu and British infantry figures. And the actual buildings are by Sarissa Precision, and in MDF, and they're actually really quite nice. What you get in total, I mean, just to give you an example, in one of the last ones produced so far, the Vietnam War, you get two or three small Vietnamese huts to make up a very small village. You get a Huey helicopter. I believe it's a Bradley armoured personnel carrier, and two sets of figures, one for the American forces, including one or two very Rambo type figures, complete with headbands and firing a machine gun from the hip, and the Viet Cong troops. And they represent fairly good value. I mean, they're all around about £50, but if you add up the individual items, particularly when you get a couple of plastic kits with them, they're pretty good. I mean, I've had my own recent purchases has been one of the rarer ones, the Roman amphitheatre or Colosseum, with a set of gladiators, animals, and ancillary buildings. And the most recent one that I purchased was the Battle of Arras 1940, which detailed a British and French attempt to hold up the Germans before they got to the coast. In this occasion, the German forces were led by none other than Rommel, and the British actually held them up for a short while, and the Germans looked at one point like they were actually going to withdraw or at least stop, but the usual muddled Allied thinking at the higher levels prevailed, and the British retreat continued, and the French likewise. There is a very nice book called Frank Force, which details the small British all arms unit that that held off the Germans for a while, and including one British soldier. He is named in the book, a young fella, about 18 or 19, last seen firing a Bren gun from the hip, and he was obviously didn't make it, as so many of them didn't. Another couple of British soldiers, obviously having a bit of a last minute drink, were in a cafe, came outside, and they were cut down by German machine gun fire from a German motorcycle and sidecar. And it was really quite an interesting period. I picked up a couple of extra sort of figures, extra kits. The Panzer One, just to even up, because you've got two Matildas, two British Matildas in the kit, and I've been actually thinking about making a start on one of these kits. I did initially think that the American Civil War Battle in the Box set was going to be the one that I went for, with a couple of farmhouses and cavalry and infantry and artillery. But those who've seen my previous videos will know I've got a very limited attention span. I did manage to complete my New Line Miniatures Sudan range. Some of you may have come with me on that journey, and also I was very close to finishing my New Line Miniatures Jacobite armies. I say armies, small representative forces, and I was getting close to them, and then I had a kind of a lapse and started looking again at plastic figures. And I've now actually finally, and I do mean finally, I've settled on the ancient world. It wasn't necessarily a first interest of mine, but you know, you can't fail to be impressed by Roman legions, ancient Britons, Greeks, Spartans, Persians, Carthaginians, and all that period so long ago that was so instrumental in creating the world that we have today. And I decided to go for the best plastic figures that I know of, which are generally considered by, amongst others, Plastic Soldier Review to be Zvezda. There are others that are very close, but Zvezda's mouldings are just about as good as it gets, you know. And I was able to pick up a number of boxes, and I in the end ended up with about a dozen boxes: Carthaginians, Macedonians, Numidian cavalry, Persian chariots and cavalry, and I've made a start with ancient Egyptians. The artwork on these boxes, by the way, is some of the most inspiring since the days of Airfix. They're really wonderfully pictured, and really you don't need to buy any more books, although I have bought a number of reference books, and already have a number of books on ancient war gaming. As I say, I'm going to make a start on ancient Egypt. I got pretty much all the research I need. I did purchase Peter Connolly's book, Greece and Rome at War, which is a standard, even though it's 30 years old. Picked up another few books, a book on the Punic War, which I know very little about, other than it was an emerging Rome flexing its muscles and eventually overcoming Carthage, who were then the major superpower of the Mediterranean. I've decided to give the plastic figures my best shot. I'm generally a little bit impatient with dealing with flash on figures, and I don't always make the best efforts in doing them. But the Zvezda figures are, to start with, extremely flash free, and as I say, beautiful mouldings. The one criticism that Plastic Soldier Review did make of them, and I think it's probably correct, they are very slim but noticeably tall for their scale. The Plastic Soldier Review was suggesting that they kind of equated to a modern man in height. You know, some of them, or many of them, being around about the equivalent of 6 foot tall, when the Egyptians were considerably below that. In any case, I started to prepare those. Made a start washing, undercoating and gloss varnish to stiffen the figures up. There's a little bit of assembly with Zvezda to get their wonderful mouldings, they sometimes have the well, they have the shields separately, and they have the arms and weapons separately. So there's a little bit of assembly with super glue. I use Gorilla Glue, which I've found to be the best of the super glues. As I say, I picked up a number of books. I think I'm gonna do a video on opening box openings, because I've got something like 12 parcels. Went a bit mad, decided to treat myself. Feeling a bit sorry for myself for not feeling so well, so I decided to actually go for a bit of retail therapy, and I wound up with, as I say, half a dozen or so Zesta kits and a number of books. I've also purchased the DVD. I don't know if some of you have caught up with the series. I think it was on Reality or Really channel. Anyway, it's Dr. Zawi Al Hawass, and it features well, it's a series called Chasing Mummies. Now, you know, it's kind of part documentary. He takes you around the you know, the Great Pyramid, and you know, it's done in a very engaging way. There's lots of drama. The Dr. Zawas is clearly a man much admired and much feared, to be honest. Apparently they call him the Pharaoh, and you'll see that he's got a lot of budding archaeologists and students who wish to learn more about Egypt come to him as the absolute master of the subject. And he rules the Rod of Iron even, and you don't get in to see these pyramids unless he feels you are worthy of doing so. And there were one or two very kind of dramatic moments, a little bit over dramatic, and I did a little bit looking up on the internet, and it turns out it was reality, inverted commas. A lot of the scenes were actually set up. There was examples of dramatic interludes, or incidents between the students and the Dr. Hawass, which were just basically made up. And that sounds bad, but it was done in a fairly engaging way, and you did learn an awful lot about ancient Egypt. So I've got no problem with it, as long as I know that a lot of the drama, in one instance a young girl archaeologist or a trainee student was accidentally locked in the pyramid, and you had a scene of Dr. Zawas coming back from Cairo, rushing there and opening up the tomb and berating the official who had allowed her to go into the tomb unsupervised. And again, this later I learnt was entirely fictitious. So it is a little bit jarring. It does actually, you think, what can I believe in this? But what comes across is the Doctor's strength of character, and as you say, as I say, you pick up an awful lot about ancient Egypt. So I've got that as a bit of background. I'm looking into, as I say, a number of books. I think I think it was called The Really Good Guide, or The Really Easy Guide. I can't remember exactly now. Memory's going, but on the Punic Wars, it's supposed to be a concise overview of the period. And yeah, as I say, I'm going to give it my best shot. I finally settled upon this period, and I've done ancient figures before. I was a great one for painting up the Egyptian infantry, the ancient Egyptian infantry from the Atlantic range. Some of you may remember the wonderful range of figures put out by Atlantic some years ago, many years ago in fact, which included Egyptian boats, Greek triremes, Roman ships, and ancient Greek and Egyptian temples, and above all, perhaps the Colosseum of Rome, which was it was as big as a coffee table. I remember looking at one in a model shop some years ago, and I think even then, I mean, I'm talking about in excess of probably 20 years ago, it was about 30 or 40 pounds, which was a lot of money at that time, and yet, had I known, I would have snapped it up. But the the figures themselves are very reminiscent of Sylvester's. They're again very slim and very tall, but the World War II range was awful. You know, the World War II range was very bad, and had some very noticeably quaint figures in it, including the soldiers who appeared to be skipping. But the ancient range was something different again. They featured probably Atlantic's finest efforts in Greek, Roman, and Egyptian armies. The ancient Egyptian chariots were a very nice set. They came in a kind of folder, almost like a book, with an opening front page, and then a kind of synopsis of the contents and the history of Egypt and major battles of the period, and then the figures enclosed inside. And I remember, this was so long ago, I took them out of the box, trimmed them up, never washed them, you know, polythene, you knew what was going to happen, laboriously painted them over many months, and they look great. But I think they got left behind in a move, and of course they they wouldn't have lasted, taken any great handling. I can't believe I didn't wash them, but you learn all these things as you go along. I've also purchased some X-Acto blades, because one thing that happens is that this plastic does have a habit of blunting your attempts to remove any flash that there is. I've got clippers obviously to remove them from the sprues, but yeah, plastic does bring its own problems. It's something I feel quite comfortable with, actually, going back to plastic figures. I did enjoy the metal figures, but I'm always hankering for something along the lines of Airfix, and as Airfix are now sadly defunct in terms of producing anything really sort of any interest in terms of figures, I look elsewhere. And some of the modern figures, I mean, there's figures by companies called Mars, Strelets. You look on the Plastic Soldier Review site, and some of them are absolutely appalling in terms of the mouldings. They are, well, at their worst, they're shapeless blobs which need heavy cutting to remove the flash from around them. In other respects, they are very crude. The weapons are crude. You just can't really use them, although there are some exceptions. Ultimate Ratio produced some very nice figures. I did some Swiss Renaissance figures a little while ago, and I've got quite a collection of them, really, and I particularly like the ancient range. That they seem to be the ones that stand out as being amongst some of the finest, produced by any manufacturers in plastic. I know recently there's been ranges of the Three Musketeers figures, which have been less historic and more based upon the films, with the different female characters, the Cardinal Richelieu and the King and Milady and D'Artagnan, Porthos, is it Aramis, or am I thinking of a gent's fragrance there? I'm not quite sure, but they're very very good fun, very good fun, and it's got a lot to offer. I think I do like to see Gary of Marksman Gaming when he's producing some wonderful figures. I've got to admire Gary's skill and patience, which far exceeds what little that I have, because some of the sets that he tackles and what he brings out of them is you have to deal with plastic figures to know the amount of work that's involved. What's really what you have to achieve. I mean, you can get bad metal figures, but for the most part, a little bit of scraping and you're good to go. But plastic figures, there's a long road before you even get to the point of actually painting them. And I've as I say, chosen Zvezda because they're not only am I very interested in the ancient period now, but and they have a good range, but their figures are of the highest quality. The mouldings are exceptional, and I'm hoping to produce some to show sometime soon. I'm down behind my flats here, actually out in the garden. I thought I'd probably be the best place to go because my children are at home. As I say, the place is in a bit of upheaval at the moment. I'm sorry I haven't got anything to show you. I mean, as I say, it's very difficult to film in the flat at the moment, and I couldn't bring anything downstairs really, but I have been purchasing like crazy. I mean, Amazon has been a constant visitor to my door. I mean, I've had everything from I bought a set of paints from Army Painter. They're actually for fantasy. I think it was a Grinning Gargoyle was the name of the range, and all the colours are very very exotically named. They don't have red, they have gargantuan vampire red, or purple is Morbius purple, and I have to laugh at some of the names. They're very inventive, but it's a set of about 20 or so paints. I think it was 20 and a brush, quite a nice brush, and that was £44, and that compared favourably to the £3.99 I was paying for one single pot of paint from again Army Painter, but once you pay the postage, this worked out something like £2, £2.50 perhaps per pot, and I'm going to get another Winsor and Newton No. 7 sable brush, and as I say, I hope to get back really in the painting groove. I haven't done anything for about 6 weeks. We hope to go to Scotland in late October, and I'm sure that'll rekindle my interest in the Jacobites, but really I'm determined to make a good go of the ancient world and learn a little about a lot if possible. I mean, I won't go into it with any intensity, not like I did with the Sudan, or because I knew a little bit about that already, and similarly with the Jacobites, but I shall try to learn a little bit about the Punic Wars and the Greek and Persian Wars, and all of these wonderful periods, and I will hope to show you some painted stuff soon, and certainly a few more kind of reviews of Italeri sets, because I've got a few that I haven't shown. Been watching, I was quite inspired by Ralph's work on his Foreign Legion project, and the wonderful fort that he had, and I'm not actually into the Foreign Legion at the moment, but that made me want to be. The artillery set, although you know much limited in compared to what Ralph had there, is a nice way to start. You get quite a nice little Sarissa French North African fort and 2 sets of figures and some outbuildings, and I think you get some palm trees as well. And yeah, it's a good way if you were going into the Foreign Legion. The only thing about them, as Plastic Soldier Review again has mentioned, the Arabs come from every part of North Africa. Not particularly accurate, or accurate at all, in fact. You've got everyone in there from dervishes to Ethiopians, I believe, and it's a little bit all over the place. But you know, if you take it with a certain amount of poetic license, it's actually a a wonderful set to have. I think it's down to about £40 or £44 now. I'm as I say, I'm gonna continue and press on with the Zvesta boxes with the ancient New Kingdom Egyptian infantry. Got a few Nubian archers in there, a pharaoh, musician, standard bearer, and some Roman standard infantry, as I would see them, that used to go to war in a sort of phalanx with relatively small shields and spears. And I'm hoping to get back into the groove, but I certainly have, in hobby terms, fallen off my bike and not been able to get back on again. But I've still been watching the videos, very much inspired by everything that you're doing, the usual people, and hope you're all well. And as I say, hope to be able to show you soon some freshly prepared soldiers and some sets that I've obtained, and even I think possibly 1 or 2 book reviews. I've got a number of items in there. I've decided to have one large opening of parcels as if it's Christmas morning. So I've been buying for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I haven't actually opened anything. So it might be quite a surprise when I open some of the packets and find instead something to do with needlework or origami. The joke will be on me, but I tend to do I intend to do a massive box opening, and I've got a lot of the figures prepared to the undercoat stage. I'm undercoating in black, which is not a first for me, but for ancient figures particularly effective, I believe, when you lay on some of the metallic colours. I think you get a more pleasing effect, and some of the corners that you can't reach, if they're black, it doesn't look quite so bad as white or grey would. I've seemed to have had good results anyway in the past. I very often undercoat in dark grey. I'd be interested in what people do. I mean, I used to be a standard white undercoat man, but as I say, I think the black does help you, and I need all the help I can get. So I will be putting some flesh on these soon, trying to get that Egyptian hue to the flesh. They seem to vary everything from black right the way through to white skin, and although tanned, of course. So I fortunately got the book Weapons and Warriors of Ancient Times, a Blandford book, and that is, I was going to say surprisingly good, but surprisingly thorough. It's got an awful lot for the ancient world, and I will be using that amongst others, although the illustrations on the boxes are in themselves very, very rewarding. I've also picked up a couple of the Osprey books, Carthaginian armies, and what was the other one? One of the series where they it's like a duel. They always compare 2 opposing, like a British infantryman opposed to a French line infantryman, and I've got one for Greek versus Persian, and I think another one coming from Rome versus Carthage. And artwork is very good. There's probably no one yet to replace old Angus McBride, but some of them are very nice, some of them are not so good, but you make up your own mind. But anyway, thanks a lot for listening, guys, and as I say, hope you're all well, and I hope you forgive me for not showing anything, but I thought it was such a long time, I better put something, let you know that I'm still alive. Anyway, take care, goodbye.